The Vietnam War is one of the clearest examples of tactical success paired with strategic failure. The United States possessed overwhelming industrial power, technological superiority, and global alliance networks. It won most engagements. It inflicted higher casualties, it controlled escalation levels, yet it failed to achieve its political objective. This was not a battlefield collapse. It was a failure of alignment between political aims, military strategy, operational execution, and domestic will. Vietnam is a strategic autopsy, because wars are not lost when armies lose battles. They are lost when political purpose erodes. Erodes. America did not lose Vietnam because it could not win fights. It lost because it measured the wrong variables. The US dropped more bombs on Southeast Asia than were used in World War II. It fielded helicopters, jets, artillery, and naval dominance. It destroyed enemy formations repeatedly, but it never destroyed the enemy's political will. And in war, political will is the center of gravity. When battlefield dominance becomes the metric of success, strategic erosion becomes invisible. The United States sought containment and credibility in the Cold War framework shaped by leaders like Lyndon B. Johnson. North Vietnam, under Ho Chi Minh, fought for national unification and regime survival. These motivations were not equal. The United States could leave, North Vietnam could not. That asymmetry meant time favored Hanoi. General William Westmoreland pursued attrition, kill enough enemy forces and the opponent collapses. But attrition only works when the enemy values manpower more than objectives. Hanoi valued the objective more. Body count became the dominant metric. Kill ratios were briefed in Washington. Charts suggested progress, but numbers measured friction, not momentum. The 1968 Tet Offensive proves it. Militarily, Tet was a disaster for the Viet Cong. Strategically, it shattered American public confidence. Televised fighting in Saigon reshaped perception. In a democracy, perception shapes political endurance. The U.S. dominated the physical battlefield. It underestimated the perceptual battlefield. War in a democracy requires sustained consent. As casualties mounted and objectives remained ambiguous, support declined. Political leaders recalibrated based on electoral risk. Escalation remained limited to avoid China and the Soviet Union. Gradual escalation signaled hesitation rather than resolve. North Vietnam adapted faster than U.S. strategy evolved. U.S. forces demonstrated overwhelming capability in engagements like Ia Drang. Air mobility increased tempo. Naval power projected dominance. But operational victories did not connect to a defined political end state. Victory was never clearly defined beyond attrition. When victory is undefined, success becomes immeasurable. You can win engagements indefinitely while losing strategic momentum. By the late 1960s, Vietnam became about American credibility. The fear was not defeat in South Vietnam, it was global perception of weakness. When credibility becomes the objective, disengagement becomes psychologically impossible. Wars must pursue outcomes, not avoid embarrassment. That shift distorted decision-making. Bombing campaigns signaled resolve without provoking China. Instead of intimidating Hanoi, they allowed adaptation. Targets were constrained. Rules of engagement fluctuated. North Vietnam dispersed and hardened logistics like the Ho Chi Minh Trail. If your enemy understands your limits better than you do, you are fighting inside a cage of your own making. Under Richard Nixon, Vietnamization shifted combat responsibility to South Vietnam, while U.S. troops withdrew. ARVN improved tactically, but remained dependent on U.S. air power and logistics. Vietnamization was a race against American patience. Time still favored Hanoi. When North Vietnam launched its final offensive in 1975, South Vietnamese forces collapsed rapidly without sustained U.S. backing. The evacuation of Saigon symbolized defeat. But collapse began years earlier when domestic endurance eroded. Military withdrawal exposed structural fragility already present. The United States did not lose Vietnam because it lacked power. It lost because power was applied without coherent strategic architecture. Tactical brilliance cannot compensate for strategic misdefinition. Wars are not won by killing enough of the enemy. They are won when the enemy accepts your political outcome. North Vietnam never did, and that is why Vietnam remains one of the most important strategic case studies in modern history.